We hear so much about how to parent our kids, but we rarely talk about how to parent ourselves. The one thing Jade does so beautifully, raising her son, and the secret to actually maintaining a peaceful home, is mastering her own calm. Before we can gentle parent, we have to become regulated mothers. We have to find a way to relax within ourselves. And today in the park, she is breaking down exactly how to do that. In today's video, we will cover what was a turning point for Jade deciding that she must raise her son in a calm environment. We will also talk about what it's like to experience fight and flight within our own nervous systems and how to readjust back to a relaxed, calm state. Today, we are going to talk about ways that we can engage with our inner child in order to better understand how to raise our children, in order to better understand how to raise ourselves, and to create a safe, calm, and regulated environment where we can co-regulate together with our children when we need to. Today, we are going to talk about real daily practices that we can implement in order to create this new environment. Have a seat, grab some tea, and let's learn how to master our own peace. Welcome to my channel. My name is Shanay, and I am the Free Spirit Mama.
Okay, cool. So my name is Jade. And
hey, Jade.
Thank you so much for having me and for sharing this conversation with me. I am the founder of Earthseed Village, the homeschool collective that we both are a part of.
Yes, and I love so much.
Yeah, I'm just really excited to have this conversation with you.
Me too. When I was thinking about just having a conversation around motherhood and intentional parenting and self-regulation, I was like, I need to talk to Jay because you do such a good job at staying regulated. And you know, everybody has their own internal experience, but it's different when you look like you're regulated versus internally being regulated. So I just wanted to talk to you about that and like, what is your process? But before we get into that, I would like to know, how did you come up with Earthseed Village? Like, what was missing in the Black motherhood community specifically that you felt like you needed to bring this to life?
Yes, thank you for that question. Earthseed Village, I'm gonna be honest, was birthed out of struggle. I was in the midst of trying to juggle single parenthood while also attempting to juggle and hold working a full-time job, while also attempting to still be full-time present in my son's life.
Right.
And knowing that I wanted to homeschool him. At this time, he was still 2. And I knew at that point that it was still too early for any sort of drop off anything, even if we were even going to go that route. And so I was trying to wear all these hats at once, the provider, the nurturer, all while trying to parent. And it was a hot mess. And I was like, something has to give, something needs to shift. At the time, I was having a regular play date with a mama who's actually a part of our collective. We would meet, I think, every Thursday, and we would kind of switch off. Like, so if I had a meeting, she would come watch the kids while I had my meeting. And then we would tag team in, tag team out. So when I was done with my meeting, I would just switch off with her and watch the kids while she had her meeting. And it was just like, we just kept having this thought of what would it look like to have more people involved? What would it look like to expand this circle? And I kept thinking, like, I want to homeschool with other parents, and I want to, hey baby.
Mom,
Yeah.
can I hold my car?
Sure, I can hold your car. Part-time car holder.
Right.
So yeah, I kept just having this like reoccurring thought, like, what would it look like to homeschool with other parents? And I think part of the gap or the lack that I was seeing in the community is I would be at the park with my kid, and all I would see around was nannies.
I remember you said that before.
Yeah, like I was very rarely meeting other parents, and when I would meet them, especially if they were Black, I would be like, oh my God,
Right.
hello.
Right. Hey, can we be friends?
Can we be friends? You want to hang out? And that's actually how I met the mom, Maya, who I was having regular play dates with, was out at the park.
Okay. I do want to ask you, or just talk a little bit about the being present part of it, because you're absolutely right. Like, we have to really be intentional about how present we are, or the capacity of presence that we have. Because if you're working full time, there's so much, like you said, to balance and to juggle. And even for me, not working full time, trying to fit in being an entrepreneur, trying to fit in cooking, and trying to fit in story time and math and all these things that we do at home, it just pulls you in so many different directions. Do you feel like now that you've created this space that your presence has shifted?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I knew at the root of creating Earthseed, what I was really desiring and really needing and really calling in was community. I knew that I needed more support so that I could continue to show up in a way that was beneficial to both him and me. And so, yes, I think having layers of support, having community is my way of accessing more presence. One of the ways.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because if I am burnt out, if I am on E, I can't be present.
Right.
And not only for him, but for myself.
For yourself.
Because that's actually where the presence starts, is with ourselves. And so if I'm, running on fumes, then everybody around me is going to feel that. And so, it was like, okay, I am in desperate need of community, and I need other trusted adults that I can depend on, that my child trusts also and feels safe with, so that I can step away, even if it's literally just on the other side of the park, to take a breath and take a minute. Like, all of those little moments add up and allow me to have more capacity to keep showing up.
For so long, the narrative has been that as a mother, you control your child, right? Like, one day my grandmother was visiting and she was like, you need to get more control over them. And I was like, instead of getting upset, which is something that I would normally do, I would be triggered by that.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, well, what do you recommend I do? And there was no recommendation.
Right.
Because control looks different depending on who's defining it and how it's being defined. Like, when I think about my parents and how I was raised, that was a mentality. Like, you have power over the child. The child doesn't run you, you run them. And I think what we're doing here is being different. We're doing something different.
Yeah.
And when we think about regulation and control, it's like you control the child, so you stay in charge, so you control the environment. But when we're collaborating with our kids, we are balancing emotions from them and us.
Yeah.
And so what was your turning point for deciding I need to fix myself in order for him to be emotional, for him to show up and express himself and be like, no, I don't want to do that. Because that's what mines do. Mines will tell me, like, I don't want to do that, mama, or I want to do this, and have those options without it being like, well, I said you need to do it like this.
Yeah.
Because that's how I was raised, and not in a negative way, but more so just the mindset of the child is your child, so you control the situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think our parents were doing the best that they could with the information that they had.
Right.
And within the context of the time that they grew up in.
Right.
Now we have a lot more information, and I think we also have a lot more freedom and space to parent in the ways that we do.
Absolutely.
And that's such a gift. And that's, I think that's the whole point, right? That's evolution.
Right, exactly. And I was thinking about that because a lot of times for Black mothers, you want to control the environment for safety. That's really the biggest thing. It's like, I need to make sure you stay safe.
Exactly.
You can't just run off and do this. And in those times, that was the major, like the forefront of the relationship was safety. Yeah,
because, the reality is when you stepped outside of those doors, you are in danger.
Yes.
Your life is might be threatened. And so I need to make sure that you understand what's at risk and what's at stake once you leave this house. And so I'm operating from a level of fear and a level of control because I want to keep you safe.
Right.
And so thank God we have a little bit more leeway. And there is a lot more safety in our natural environment, and so we can kind of give them a little bit more space on their leash to roam. Right, if you will.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, but to answer your question from earlier around what was like the turning point, I think I always knew that I wanted to parent differently than how I was raised. But I think there was a turning point and a moment in which I kind of switched my mentality around parenting. And I actually went through like an inner child meditation with a friend of mine.
Okay.
And she kind of had me imagine myself as I want to say I was around like 8 years old and maybe younger. Yeah, I think I was younger. And during this meditation, she asked me, what does that version of my inner child need? And it was very clear to me that version of my inner child, I think I was a toddler, the time that I kind of was imagining, needed to just be free to express myself. What I was seeing was myself actually throwing a tantrum.
Okay.
And I was just like kicking and screaming and yelling and crying. And then she asked me, as a parent, what does that inner child need from you right now? Okay. And what I needed from my parent was to just be held, to just be allowed to have the tantrum. Because actually, as a child, I wasn't allowed to just have the tantrum. I was, again, my emotions were, it was like, no. There was no space for the expression of the emotion to just be what it was. And so I realized in that moment that I actually needed to shift my parenting to allow for my son to have his full expression of his emotion. But that also meant that I had to be with that little inner child, that version of me that wasn't allowed to have that. So I think in the process of shifting that mindset for him, it also shifted the capacity for myself to be able to hold more of my own emotion. Because for so long I was numb because I was taught as a child to keep a lid on that. What are some common phrases we hear? Like, I'm gonna give you something to cry about. Yes. We were taught to kind of pull it back in.
Yeah, put a lid on it.
Put a lid on it. You're embarrassing me. Don't you be crying out in public.
Right.
If you don't, what the threat is, you gonna get it worse at home. So, and so I learned as an adult to like keep my emotions in because I was afraid to express them out of what might happen.
And it could have also been subconscious.
after a period of time.
No, for sure, it was
it's kind of
absolutely
like
subconscious.
ingrained. Like, okay, let me just keep it together.
Yeah, it was absolutely like I was not even connecting those dots until that moment.
Right.
And
right.
it was in that moment that I realized, oh, like, not that I was doing it in the same way that my parents were, but I caught myself, you know, like when Lapis would fall down, I would say things like, oh, it's okay, it's okay. And actually what I shifted to was, instead of saying it's okay, I started asking him, like, are you okay? And instead of trying to make it better really fast or rush to get him to feel better, I would allow him to actually cry. I would actually allow him to feel what he was feeling, instead of trying to fix the emotion, change the emotion, make it better, hurry up and entertain him or distract him out of it. I actually just started allowing him to experience the full feeling and just hold him in that. I'm not really here to make it better. I'm not really here to change it. I'm not really here to fix it, but can I just be here with you in it and know that at some point the emotion will move, right? Because emotions actually only last for about 60 seconds to 90 seconds, and then they start to move. But what happens is, if we don't actually feel the emotion, then it gets stored in the body. And so I want to give him the space to actually feel the emotion, express it, and then move on. And so often it really does happen that way. Like, when you allow them to feel it, then they're able to actually move through it. But when we suppress it, it's actually still there. And they're showing us that it's still there, but we're still trying to manage it. And it's like, if you just let them feel it, express it, and move on, they're on to the next thing. Right. But when we suppress it, then it stays in their body and they're still trying to get it out somehow. Right. Yeah.
It's built up energy.
Yes.
What I'm hearing is lack of understanding.
Absolutely.
And it's more so what I'm thinking about is lack of understanding of the child, because they cannot fully express themselves. And we do spend a lot of time decoding what is happening right now. And actually, even if there's not an answer, then like you said, just letting it happen. Yes. But how does a parent get to that understanding?
That's a good question. I think a parent can get to the understanding of their children's feelings and emotions by exploring their own. And exploring the ways in which they were parented as a child, and to really, and this is why mindfulness is such a beautiful tool. And this is something that I have used as a parenting tool, because mindfulness asks us to get really intimately close with our feelings, with our thoughts, with the stories that we tell ourselves. And so if you can take inventory of your feelings in the moment as things are happening, it will actually give you a lot more space and capacity to be with the feelings that are in front of you. Because if my child is having a tantrum and my system is in fight or flight, because that's often what happens.
That's how I get in fight or flight.
I can actually just take a moment to first check in with myself. Oh, I'm noticing that I'm in fight or flight. I don't need to be, because I'm not in danger. There's no tiger around. I'm actually safe. So if I can access maybe a deep breath, maybe a mantra, something that brings me back to the moment, and to really signal to my body that I'm not in danger. In that moment, I can actually access what we call regulated, is really just how relaxed can my body be in this moment. So if I can move my body from out of fight or flight, which is, you might notice my heart is racing. I'm starting to get hot. What are the ways in which you notice your body is moving into that state? And how can I bring myself back to a calm state, because I'm not actually in danger? Then I can actually just be present for what's in front of me. See, what happens is, if we're responding to them from that place of fight or flight, now we're actually matching their energy.
Yes.
And what needs to happen is they need to match our energy. And that's co-regulation. So if they can see, oh, mom is cool, calm, and collected, that means I can be too. But they can't access that co-regulation if we are also in fight or flight. Because when they're having a tantrum, that's the brain state that they're in, is fight or flight. They're in survival mode.
Right.
They can't even access logical feelings because that's the front of the brain. They're back here in the primal brain. And if we are too in the primal brain, then we just both out here stressed and getting chased by a lion when we don't need to be.
Battling each other.
Each other.
Who gonna win the scream off?
Right.
Yes, I love that you said that. I mentioned this to you before, that I talked to my therapist about that, because I'm like, I don't know how to manage a situation when, like, for us, a lot of the screaming happens when it's time to eat. And you know my babies.
They love to eat.
They do. And if the food is not ready, it's a problem. So, to help though, I do try to have food ready. I try to make enough. So like when we get home tonight, dinner is going to be ready within 5-10 minutes. I just got to warm it up. But my therapist, she was like, when things happen and I'm feeling, like you said, not relaxed and I'm feeling unregulated, she's like, just sit down and breathe right in front of them. And I did that. And as soon as I did it, Bob was like, Mama, what are you doing? What are you doing, Mama? And then finally, I'm calming myself down. And that like switched for him. He was like, first off, confused by what I was doing because I calmed down and just sat there right in front of him and started breathing. Then he got curious. And then he moved on to something else. I'm like, okay, that gave me a good 10-minute window to get the food ready. But yes, I think having tools, because it's one thing to say, calm down, but it's another thing to have an actual tool to use so that we can calm down. Right. And those conversations, I think, need to happen more often.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think it's also, it's really beautiful for them to see us, number one, experience real emotion in the moment, and then return ourselves to our calm and regulated state. So in that scenario, sometimes if things are chaotic and I need to take a moment, I'll do something similar, right? Like I'll take a deep breath, or and Lapis, when he hears me take a deep breath, like a audible breath, he'll be like, Mom, what's wrong? Because he knows. And I'll be like, Mommy's frustrated right now. Okay. And it's important that because everything that we're doing is modeling for them.
Exactly.
And so they need to see us in real time, experience the frustration, take the deep breath, and then see what happens on the other side of that. Next. Yes. Because that's showing them how to access calm and a regulated state.
How to get back to regulation.
Regulation. Right. Yeah, they need to see us doing that. So that's really beautiful.
It is. I notice sometimes Bamba, he'll be like, I'm sad. And I'm like, what's making you sad, Bamba? But just to hear him say it is like, I don't know what just made you sad, but the fact that you can communicate
that's a win.
Yes, exactly. And it does take practice, because there are things where, like, for example, he might not have the words to communicate to Papa, like, I don't want soap in my eyes, for example, when Papa's giving him a bath. But then I'll go back and be like, well, Bamba, if you don't want soap in your eyes, you have to tell Papa, I don't want soap in my eyes, because he's washing his face, his full face. And Papa doesn't know. Papa's just trying to get you clean. Right. He's not thinking about that. As quickly as
possible.
Yes. And he don't realize, like, babies don't have the thought, like, to wipe their eyes or to keep their eyes closed while there's soap in them. And so after that, Bob be like, okay, you'll wash my face, but you're not going to put soap in my eyes. And I'm like, yes, for him speaking up for himself.
Absolutely.
Because they need the language to say it. They need the practice, and they need a space where it's safe to practice, so that they can, when they're feeling like sad or frustrated, they can say it, experience it, express it, but then also go back to, okay, I'm good now.
Yeah.
I think I need practice. I think I'm ongoing with this process of staying regulated as a mother. But I really appreciate this community and appreciate you for allowing us to show up and then ask, like, okay, this is happening with me. How are you managing this? What would you recommend I do in these situations? So when I'm not here and I'm at home, I can pay attention to what's happening, like what might be triggering this sensation or emotion. And then I can come back to the group and say, this is what I noticed when I was at home. How do I manage that when I'm at home? Because it's like right now he's cool. He's not, when we're out in public and in space, like in the wild, he's good because he has things to do. But when we get home or when we're in the car,
then it's all on you.
It is all on me. And I'm like, what do I do? Like I'm in my brain like, okay. He said this. How do I respond? Or what can I do to help avoid what I think is about to come on? Because it'll be something like, he'll ask me like, what's that, mama? What's that? And I'll answer. And then he'll say, what's that? What's that? What's that? And really what he wants me to do is ask him. So that's what, and it's because I'm paying attention. So now when he asks me, like, what's that, mom? I'm like, Mom, but what is it? And then he'll answer me. He's like, I just wanted you to ask me, but he can't tell me. Ask me the question. And so how would you recommend parents, like what should parents look out for? How, in what ways can parents pay attention to certain things to help like move through what could be a tantrum or what could be an emotional expression or anything like that? Like just paying attention to your kids to help them communicate what they can't communicate.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think the first step is, again, accessing our own calm, right? Because if we can't access our own calm, we're not going to be paying attention to nothing. We're just going to be in that fight or flight.
Right. So I'm trying to survive.
So the first step is take a deep breath, tap, do whatever you got to do. The mantra, whatever it is that works for you. The second step is allow. So really, we're just here to hold the space for them to have the big feeling. Allow that feeling to take on its full expression. We're not trying to avoid tantrums. We're not trying to avoid big feelings. We're just there to hold the container in the space for it to happen, for them to experience it. And then once they've calmed down, once you start to see, okay, they're kind of over the hump of the height of it, then you can start giving them some words. Oh, I can see that you're feeling really angry right now. I can see that you're feeling really frustrated that XYZ just happened. I can see that you're feeling really upset that you can't have the ice cream right now. Start to give them words to match the feeling that you are intuiting that they're having. I can see that you're really frustrated that Billy took your toy. Whatever it is, just start to give them language so that they can start to connect the dots, so that the next time that they're having that feeling, they can actually say, I'm really frustrated that Billy took my toy. So we want to give them language. And then the next step after that is to give them a tool. So not necessarily fix the problem, but sometimes it is a simple opportunity to problem solve, right? So let's say Billy took the toy. Then we can say, after we've named the feeling, we can say, maybe we can ask Billy if we can have a turn when he's done. Give them something practical so that they now feel empowered. They're not just out here.
And then there's a what's next.
What's next?
So now you feel
we're
like
moving the energy. We're moving on. We're shifting the energy. We're shifting. But the key is really to allow that emotion to take up space. And I think that's the part where most people kind of get tripped up on. Like, so you just gonna let them cry? You just gonna let them be out here acting a fool? I remember I was on the phone with my mom one time and she heard Lapis having a tantrum and she was like, so you just gonna let him have the tantrum? And I was like, yeah, what else am I gonna do?
This is how we roll.
I'm not here to control it, to change it, to fix it, to shut it down. Like, this is an actual, a very natural developmental process that he's experiencing. And I'm okay with that, And I think, again, we get triggered. I'll say this for myself. What I realized pre inner child meditation, I realized that I was actually getting triggered by his big emotions because I was not able to have my big emotions.
Right.
So there was this like this feeling of like
it was
I'm
a
getting
disconnect.
tense. I'm getting tight. I don't know what to do with this.
I need to stop this right now.
I need to stop this because that's how I was treated. And also, like, I don't really have experience with this.
Right. And that's why we're having this conversation because we need to talk about what tools as a mother, as a father, do we have that can help us move through our big emotions as
our
they're
own big
experiencing
emotions.
theirs. I do want to shift gears really quick and ask you, what is your take on true separation? Like when you actually need separation from the experience. I know I have this feeling when I'm like, okay, you need space. I'm not going to stop you from having this experience, but I need to separate myself from you because I'm not regulated right now. And I am getting triggered. What is your take on separation? Like, instead of I'm here with you, I actually need to step away and get myself back together while you have this moment.
Are you speaking to like a big feeling, like a tantrum?
Yes, a tantrum in a safe space where you can step away, like at home, for example. What are your thoughts on that?
I think if you're in a space where you can't access your calm by staying in the environment, sometimes it may be necessary to take some space. And I think it's important also to name that to your child in the moment. Mommy's feeling really frustrated right now. I'm going to take a little bit of, you can call it space. You can say, I'm going to go in my room and take some deep breaths and then I will come back. Like just naming what's happening. If you have access to that, maybe you don't. Right. But the important thing is honestly that you take that space, because the faster that you can get to a regulated state, you can actually be in the moment with them. Right. And they can access that calm and that co-regulation. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it is important to name what's happening. But again, maybe you don't have access to that, and that's okay too. I don't think you're damaging them. Again, I'm not a professional psychologist, so I can't say that for sure. But in my experience, it's better to take the space than to stay and be in fight or flight. Right. I think it goes or to
back
stay and be yelling.
Because I mean, we're talking about 2-year-olds. Can you imagine teenagers? Like, we have to teach our kids to regulate at 2. Yeah. We have to teach ourselves to regulate when they're 2. So that when they become 12 and they have a different set of emotions and hormones, we can navigate that a lot differently because we've done the work beforehand. I was watching this TED Talk about this guy. He was talking to a group of teachers, and he was talking about the impact teachers have. And he was like, the biggest impact you can make is teaching kids to self-regulate. He's like, because when you can teach them to self-regulate and they have this big emotion or this big experience, the result of them regulating themselves is less likely to be negative. So for example, if I push you and you like turn up on me immediately, and it could have been an accident, that's you not being self-regulated because of what I did, which I triggered you. Yeah. But if we are taught to be self-regulated, you could take a deep breath. You push me. That was an accident. Right? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like checking in before I just turn up and it could turn into something else. Yeah. And so I really love the work that we're doing right now with babies, because again, they will turn into teenagers and adults who need these skills that we're giving them at such an early age. So I really appreciate that. And I want to thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. Do you have 3 tips or 3 recommendations? I know this conversation is full of tips, gems, and recommendations, but any thing else you want to leave us with today?
tips and tools for regulation, for me personally, my biggest tool right now is meditation.
You mentioned that.
Meditation, intentional movement, breath work, mindfulness. That's 4.
Right. But, and the list continues.
Meditation has been really like such a grounding force in my parenting journey. Okay. And community.
Yes, absolutely. Especially because I'm not from LA. So I'm walking into motherhood like, who gonna help me? My parents are in a whole nother state. My brother and sister have no kids. Yeah. So it's like, I need support. Musa is at work all day.
Yeah.
And so us being here is extremely helpful. This has changed so much of how I show up as a mom. So I'm so happy to be a part of this space because it shows that it's needed because like every semester it's like more and more people sign up. Yes, so thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you taking the time to share your thoughts and share your experience and just to have a real open conversation about raising Black kids. And you have a son too. So I think it's really important to equip our sons with these skills.
Yeah,
early
absolutely.
on.
Because as we know, boys, especially little Black boys, have been taught to hold in their emotions.
You're a boy. You're not supposed to cry.
Be strong, to be a big boy. And really, they're boys and they're humans, so they have emotions too. Right. And they need language for their emotions. They need space to feel their emotions because when we suppress them, then they turn into boys that become violent or boys that become aggressive.
Don't know how to communicate.
Because they don't actually know what to do with their anger or their sadness or their frustration.
Right.
But when we give them tools early on to help express their emotions in a healthy way, to give words to their emotions, then they grow up to be men that have emotional intelligence and that can speak to their emotions without, losing their masculinity.
Right, exactly.
So it's really important that we give all children the space to feel. And I'm really grateful to have had this conversation with you. And thanks for inviting me to share and just talk and be in community and space with you.
Thank you. I feel like we could talk for hours, but we got to pause here. There'll be a part 2 at another point because the conversation is so good and it's so needed. And also to bring other parents in to share their perspective.
For sure.
So, but yes, we will talk again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Get back to these babies.
Right. I've been watching them. They've been having a good time over there.